Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm playing host this week, even though Samantha has joined us, but she's joined us while she's on the road with Kenji and Catherine. I think based on what Samantha said, we're on chapter 4. I don't know the title of it, but I will jump off and let everybody else introduce themselves, and then let Catherine, as always, and glad you're back and glad you're with us again this week, Catherine. Let her do the reading for us. As always, she does a great job.
Hello, it's Samantha on the road, heading up into Michigan.
And hold on just a second. Kenji and Gorham.
Good morning, this is Catherine Clement. And we're on chapter 4, Speaking Archetypes, your 4 principal energy companions. And on Kindle, that's page 138. So that'll get you close to it anyway. There's a quote from Thomas Paine out of Common Sense. Quote, "The mind, once enlightened, cannot again become dark." And that is 100% true. That's why I told you guys, if you ever find it, you ever find that peace and that connection, you always have it. Archetypes are your energy guides to your highest potential, the fulfillment of the 5 stages of your sacred contract. You have 4 constant archetypes at work in your life: the child, victim, prostitute, and saboteur. Now we'll work with these 4 universal archetypes. The child is among the most powerful pattern in our psyche because we are born into it. It is our first state of consciousness. Before Freud, the influence of childhood experiences on psychological and emotional well-being was rarely investigated. In the late 20th century, that attitude not only changed, it became extreme and even self-indulgent, in my opinion. Most Western societies now attribute adult behavior and motivations to the quality of an individual's childhood. Much blame for aberrant, immoral, or sociopathic actions is offloaded onto childhood resentments, sadness, and neglect. Judging from the people who have come to see me professionally, validating many people's views of their early experiences can provide a passageway to healing, but it has also often led people to become stuck in their early wounds. Give me just 1 second to clear my. The child actually has many aspects, including the wounded or orphan child, to which many people relate, and the magical or innocent child, among others. Engagement with the magical child is rare, but it is pure delight to be in the company of someone who radiates that archetype. Sir George Trevelyan, who has been called the father of the New Age movement in England, was such a person. Educated in the old world tradition at Cambridge, George was the quintessential Victorian gentleman, eccentric, deep-voiced, and captivatingly dramatic. Although his father had expected him to follow family tradition and pursue a career in academics, George was consumed early on by an interest in spirituality and alternative healing. His entire life was a mythic journey in which he explored the nature of human consciousness. He consciously lived in 2 realms, the physical and the spiritual. He spoke about having conversations with nature spirits and wind sprites, garden spirits, and angels, making this type of inter-realm dialogue seem exactly what it should be, natural. Although I tend to be skeptical of people making such claims, I believed Sir George because of his matter-of-fact attitude, selflessness, and innocence. He never demanded that others acknowledge what he described as his world. I met Sir George on New Year's Eve, 1982, at the Findhorn community in Scotland, when he was in his early 70s. Thereafter, he and I presented several workshops together during the 1980s in different parts of England, and each one was an adventure into his alternate reality. One time he took me to the place that is believed to be the mythical home of Camelot and Avalon, and he spoke about the knights of the Round Table as if he knew them on a first name basis. And by this time in our relationship, I would have believed he did. The most memorable scene in which George's magical child stepped into action took place in 1986 at a workshop we did in a classic English manor house. As we were lecturing to a group of people, George suddenly stopped speaking and focused his attention on the back of the room. I hesitated for a moment and then, knowing might be opening us all for a real surprise, asked him, "What are you looking at?" "Why," he replied, "the god Pan has just decided to join us." Immediately, everyone turned to the back of the room, but all they saw was the wall, not the mythic Greek god of the forest, half man, half goat, with cloven hooves and two horns on his head. "So what does he want?" I asked George. "He simply wants to join in on the fun." "Well, tell him he's welcome to stay with us as long as he likes," I said. George laughed with delight and went back to teaching. I, on the other hand, kept staring at the back of the room, hoping that I could catch even a glimpse of this god who had decided to honor us with his presence. I didn't see a thing, yet as I watched George inspire the group while reading them his favorite poetry, I realized that I had made my own spiritual work too serious. Although the intense demands of my own spirit repeatedly affirm that I am in touch with another dimension, George showed me that the process of working with our spirits should be magical. He helped many others open to their own personal gods and energy companions, allowing magic back into their lives through his nightly enchanting views and teachings. That evening over dinner, I asked George how it was that he could see Pan and the spirits of the nature kingdom. "Oh, that's easy," he said. "I look through the imagination of my inner child. All children can see into that world when they are very young. The door between the worlds closes as you get older and begin to believe that there is no such thing." For George, this archetype and its imaginative world had become a companion. In the beginning, Sir George was an extraordinary character, but his experience is not unique. Others throughout history have been aware of the living presence of archetypes and been comfortable discussing them and discoursing with them. In ancient Greece, Plato asserted that the existence of archetypal ideas or forms is the centerpiece of his philosophical view of the world. As the intellectual historian Richard Tarnas points out, Platonic forms are not conceptual abstractions that the human mind creates by generalizing from a class of particulars. Rather, they possess a quality of being, a degree of reality that is superior to that of the concrete world. Platonic archetypes from the world and also form the world and also stand beyond it. They manifest themselves within time and yet are timeless. They constitute the veiled essence of things. According to Tarnas, Plato often saw the gods and goddesses of Greek tradition as symbols of universal patterns of emotion. In his Symposium, for instance, Plato envisioned Eros, Greek god of love, as a complex and multidimensional archetype which at the physical level expresses itself in the sexual instinct, but at higher levels impels the philosopher's passion for intellectual beauty and wisdom and culminates in the mystical vision of the eternal, the ultimate source of all beauty. As we have seen, the great Swiss psychologist Carl Jung was the first to define and explore extensively the nature and role of universal archetypes in human consciousness. By their very nature, Jung explained, archetypes have their origins in the dawn of human history. The psyche is not of today, he wrote. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. Individual consciousness is only the flower and the fruit of a season, sprung from the perennial rhizome beneath the earth. Jung tied archetypes inextricably to his concept of the collective unconscious, which is distinct from the individual unconscious. The collective unconscious is the inherited experience of the entire human race. Your consciousness is affected by this greater unconscious, and yours also makes a contribution to the collective. Echoing Plato, Jung defined archetypes as definite forms in the psyche that seem to be present always and everywhere. Hey, not right now. Drop it. Thank you. Jung's best-known disciple, Joseph Campbell, wrote that since archetypes or norms of myth are common to the human species, they are inherently expressive of common human needs, instincts, and potentials. When Jung propounded his theory of archetypes, he had been steeping himself in the mythology and folklore of the world from the Egyptians, Babylonians, and Greeks to the Gnostics and American Indians. Just as some kind of analytical technique is needed to understand a dream, so a knowledge of mythology is needed in order to grasp the meaning of a content deriving from the deeper levels of the psyche. The collective unconsciousness, so far as we can say anything about it at all, appears to consist of mythological motifs or primordial images, for which reason the myths of all nations are its real exponents. In fact, the whole of mythology could be taken as a sort of projection of the collective unconscious. Volumes have since been written about archetypes. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, John Shinoda Boland, Robert Bly, and many others have made immense contributions to this vast subject, drawing on an apparently limitless supply of myths and folk tales from disparate cultures around the globe. These writers have identified hundreds of archetypal patterns that have a significant effect on our daily lives and relationships. Their work implies that although archetypes are patterns of influence that are both ancient and universal, they become quite personalized when they are a part of an individual's own psyche. Since your sacred contract is embodied in a support system of 12 archetypes, perhaps the most advantageous way to think of them is as intimate companions. Actually, the nature of your archetypes is both intimate and impersonal. Viewed through the heart, they are personal enough to be called companions. Viewed with the mind, they are impersonal, symbolic patterns that serve in the energetic organization of your spiritual evolution. As I say in my workshops, a personal experience filtered through an impersonal or symbolic attitude creates a vastly different psychic chemistry from taking everything personally. Just as your archetypes have a dual nature, you too have the constant challenge of holding within yourself a personal heart and a symbolic mind. Don't misinterpret this statement to mean that all relationships and life experiences will be simple and painless if you just treat your interactions impersonally and impassively. That, of course, is nonsense. What we need to do is make conscious choices and take responsibility for ourselves, including our thoughts and attitudes. Working with your archetypal patterns is the best way I know to become conscious of yourself, the effect of your actions, and the need for choosing wisely every day. Should we stop and talk there? And keep going.
Um, I I think that's enough, but I don't know. Uh, what does everybody else think? Okay, Lori's giving a thumbs up. Sure, yeah, let's stop there. And any thoughts? There was quite a bit in there.
Good morning. Good morning. You are muted, Dan.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that's a good spot to stop. There's a lot, I think, in there. I'm trying to still process a lot of that because she covered a lot of different things within just that short, and I'm still trying to process some of it. Do any of you have any thoughts on that? As I'm still trying to.
Well, I think I mean, archetypes have not necessarily been a part of my spiritual experience. I've read about them before this book and through the years, and I do recognize themes more or less, but I don't necessarily tie them to the archetypes all the time. But what she said about don't misinterpret this statement to mean that all relationship and life experiences will be simple and painless if you just treat your interactions impersonally and impassively. So to me, probably my main archetype is one that she doesn't mention, which is Vulcan. Just which is that part of me that can be very impersonal, and because my guides are that way. Like when you connect with your guides, you can tell. People always say, how do I connect with my guides? How do I know it's them and not my imagination? It's usually because of their responses that you know that it's them, because they're very matter of fact, direct, impersonal. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't have it memorized, but in the Bible, when God told Noah to build an ark, he didn't give him a 3 paragraph thing about what to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it. He said, build an ark and bring 2 of every animal or something, and that's pretty much it. Or he'll say, go sacrifice your son, or, it's just very matter of fact and seemingly impersonal. And it comes off as very cold and uncaring, but it's not. It's just very direct and non-emotional, because this life is so fleeting. We're just here and gone in an instant. And we're here and gone in an instant millions of times, probably. I mean, who knows how many times we've actually done this, being human, I'm speaking of. So it's to get so tied up over anything that's happening in our lives, regardless, um, I mean, you have to feel emotions, but you can't let emotions ruin your life. So I think finding a way, whether it's through archetypes or whatever spirituality, whatever you're going with there, I think finding a way to be less emotional is a very good thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you care less. It means that you love yourself enough not to destroy your body by letting yourself get so overwhelmed with it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and for me, like you said, that part that where she said, "Don't oversimplify that statement." That kind of stuck out to me now that you said that, because of humans being emotional people, we tend to run to the more emotional side, and I get what you're saying about connecting, like for me, God, the way I view God and Jesus Christ and my relationship in that. um yeah, it does seem, it seems personal, but yet, and not without emotion, but it's different in the sense of, I think for me it's more of a counterbalance to help me more focus when I'm in that emotional moment and letting my emotions override a lot of things, because I do that very easily sometimes, um, and sometimes I think that's one of my weak points. But in my faith and my beliefs with God, and how I view that, I need that balance of that. I'm not going to say impersonal, but that more matter of fact, direct. That saying it in that way and means to me to help me focus more on, okay, it's really, and the people around me that I use as additional balance, I think. Because a lot of times, some of you even on here have told me things and I've needed to hear it, but you said it in love, but not in an emotional state. You said things more out of a more direct and to the point tone, and then I can like go back and go, oh yeah, they're really right. It really isn't as bad, or and speaking with God, oh yeah, that really, it's really not as bad as I'm viewing it. And then going back to when he was talking about, Pan being there in the room, and the way to access that is through your inner child. And that's, I think, something that we've all lost as we've grown up, is being able to connect. We connect back with that inner child, but we connect it in a disassociated way, if you can understand what I'm saying. We look back and we think about it, and we have fond feelings or thoughts about it, but we don't necessarily really immerse ourselves back into that, which I think he had the ability to do. He really could go back into that, because, I can remember things I thought and felt and believed and saw and heard as a child that as an adult, I just kind of don't allow. So I think that was a important point that we all forget about.
Yeah, speaking about, somebody told me the other day that viewing what you're going through, if it's something difficult, it's good to look at that from the perspective of this is temporary. It's all temporary, whether, whether it's going to be, whether you're going to have a different like point of view, or like tomorrow or next week, as well as perhaps you'll have just adjusted to whatever's happening to you, or you'll find a way around it or through it, but or you'll resolve it, or it'll become a thing of the past. I think it's important sometimes, and that was good advice from her. That just remember whatever you're going through. Thanks. I'm glad to be here. Glad to see you all. And that's part of what I'm needing lately, to reconnect and reinforce my spirituality. Find ways again to plug back into spirit, and that's going to really anchor me and help me going forward after the horrific bout, thank you, of the situation that I went through, and all that I had to deal with and continue to deal with. And so, but I'm working it through, and I feel really good being here and seeing you all. And thank you for the love. I really, back at you. So, and again, sometimes really pausing and trying to remember this is temporary. This feeling or whatever you're going through, you're going to find a way around it. Nothing stays the same. So situations can change. There can be miracles, or a spirit will bring us a solution. And that's what, that's something I pray for a lot, is that whatever I'm going through, spirit help me to move past this. or I know that you're going to bring me something that's going to help me move past it, or a solution to this problem. So, and that's usually the case. But I think through my life, that's usually the case. You think back a year ago on what maybe something that you were dealing with, and then it's like, well, that's not an issue anymore, So, of course, there are some issues that continue to stay with us. But then we have to look at that as, okay, those are long-term issues that are going to maybe stay with us. But sometimes, those are the ones that we learn the most from, because it's all about growth, evolution. I went to a shamanic journeying last night, which was lovely. That was another. I haven't done that in a while, and this was actually like 20 minutes from my house, and I'd been there before. It's a lovely little setup. It was sitting out. We had a fire going. Perfect night for it. Close to the getting close to the eclipse, and just a wonderful experience. Again, another vehicle for me to plug back into my spirituality. So.
Sounds like it was beautiful and awesome, and I wish I had taken time to try and see the meteors, but I'm always got stuff going on, and I need to just make time for that whenever it comes up again. But any other thoughts? Anybody else have any other thoughts? I thought I saw Lori maybe trying to jump out, but not sure. But if you have any thoughts, go ahead and jump out.
It's a good picture of you, by the way, Lori. I don't remember that picture before, so it must be new.
I have a thought on the collective consciousness idea. It kind of folds into my perspective on what on kind of why I think we exist, and that so as much as the same way that they're saying in the book that we each add to the collective consciousness with our thoughts and ideas and what have you, that we are all bringing our experiences back to the Lord, back to God, back, and they're able to experience living and the good, the bad, ugly, all through us. And I really feel like that is a big part of our purpose here on Earth.
Jason, I just want to ask for clarification. Do you mean, and certainly I believe this, that spirit is experiencing the physical life through us. Is that what you meant? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're I believe we're co-creators with spirit, and we're deliberate creators, as Abraham Hicks would say. We're deliberate creators, and once we know that we are one, there's no separation with spirit, with God, then it empowers us, it emboldens us to tap into that and use it, and knowing that with our thoughts, especially visualizations, creative thoughts of especially ones of love and harmony, and projecting that out will help create that, place that in the collective consciousness. And maybe like one of the things around the fire, and I don't know if any of you have done a ceremony with cacao, but I couldn't partake, which of course I was very disappointed, because that's a trigger for my GERD. But that kind of enhances your experience. But I don't know, I was pretty enhanced. The experience was really pretty dynamic anyway. But we go around and talk about what we're envisioning, and it's really like a long silent meditation with various things involved, like oracle cards and that kind of thing. So one of the things that I mentioned was that I see through the fire, I saw the logs weakening and collapsing. And that's how I envision, this world that I wish to see, and let that be an example of what will happen, where the old that no longer works anymore for us will collapse, and that the new and the rebirth will rise up, so that it can rise up once the old is gone. And that will include such godlike qualities as love, compassion, where we'll literally be a heaven on earth. So, and there were different themes of that as people went around and talked about what they envisioned. Some of them more personal, some of them more about, in general, what's happening in the universe. But anyway, I kind of digressed. But the main thing is that we do have power. Our thoughts, our thoughts go out into the collective consciousness, and there's a ripple effect, and it does impact. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I think I reached out to somebody at the very end, when I could have died. And I just felt a nudge. And I think it was my spirit guide or guardian angel, or both of them, saying, you're not done yet, Jane. Reach out to somebody now before it's too late. And I did. And so, as much as life can be painful, and I certainly know that, again, I went into a major depression, and just because I was spiraling downward, and all that cortisol and all those chemicals that wash over you and just create, that starts with kind of a fear, fight or flight. And then, that all culminates if you don't do something to pull up, where you're just, you're in a major clinical depression, and it's very hard to get out of that. And I didn't reach out for help, and until I did. And then I found myself in the hospital, and then I had to get help, which, it's okay. But I'm glad I made that decision, and that I still have stuff to do, I guess. I still have to try to put my own positive stamp on this world. So, enough from me. So, somebody else, please.
Well, that's good. That's a great perspective that you brought to us today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I do think that the collective consciousness idea is valid, and it's very interesting that they would be thinking about that so very long ago.
Yes. Well, don't you think so very long ago that there were also spirit guides, and spirit was trying in some way, and he does that. The spirit guides are vehicles from spirit, and our angels, our guardian angels, and etc. The other help that we get from the other side have always been there, I think. So that's why someone knows about it, or somebody meditated and tapped into it, and realized that that's the truth of and wrote about it, and then other people it resonated with, and I mean, that's how I think anything comes into our consciousness, is because it's there in the collective consciousness. So, and we either tap into it or somebody from the other side helps us realize it. They little whispers, you know, or little ideas that they plant in our head. You know, with some of my spiritual friends, I've heard them call them downloads, which is interesting. So, but it makes sense where you just have an idea and you think, well, where'd that idea come from? Well, okay, it probably came from somebody from the other side.
It's the idea lottery is what it is. It's just
Mhm.
it's just I'm kind of making a little bit of a joke, but
No, that's
like the
good.
like the it's like the idea cosmic spiritual idea raffle.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
all have a number of tickets that we that just get used up when we're not filling our mind deliberately, as you said. I mean, part of that was what you were saying, like that we are deliberate creators, or
Mhm.
well, sometimes we're not so deliberate. Sometimes we're a little bit um flaky and
Oh yeah. But the
and
point
not
is,
not
yeah,
not focused, and
that's
and
the point
it's like that's when those raffle tickets get spent, I think. It may be.
right, meaning when people purchase like something that's, kind of for leisure fun, if that's what you're trying to say.
No, I'm just saying, like, we all like the wheel gets spun and we get an idea out of the blue that we're not even, we're like, where did that come from? And it was given to us by the cosmos, and
Right.
you were and sometimes it's a dud. Sometimes it's a winner.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now,
Just
now
Well, I look at it this way. I think Jason has a point, and it's when we're not so preoccupied in our own thoughts and we inadvertently maybe just are open and free to random thoughts that might come in, and all of a sudden that thought comes in and it's like, oh, and we go, where'd that come from? But it's not, it's random on our side, but it's not random on God's side.
Mhm.
It's like, he
yeah.
brings it and allows us to, when we're free and open to that ability to accept it. Now, what we do with it after that, that's up to us. But I think there's more. I don't. It's random, but it's not random in my head. I think it's in the times when I'm not
Right.
so in the moments and going, okay, this is going wrong, that's going wrong, this is that. And I just sit down and I kind of let loose and all of a sudden a thought pops in my head, and it's like, oh, never thought of that, or
Mhm.
oh, that is an idea. I think that's when we allow that ability to be open to receive that, to come into our thought process. Because when we're so, and I tend to get so like this, I'm so focused on what I'm doing, and because of what is going on in my life, I tend to go like this, and I don't want,
Yeah,
no,
narrow vision. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Your own story. You're so concerned and into your own story. Um, but think about it. Isn't that also um, when maybe spirit is trying to get our attention, and yeah, and or something does occur and we're not really paying, so we notice that out of our peripheral vision maybe, or the corner of our brain, but we go, nah, I got this to think about, or that's probably not that important. So sometimes we push away maybe those time periods, maybe when we would pay more attention to maybe those little nuggets. So
I don't know about you guys, but lately I have been having songs in my head that I don't, it's, and it's not so much that I've heard the song recently. It's just sort of like this they're like they're songs that I'm sort of familiar with, but I don't know all the words and I don't know how they go. And but it's just like this, so it feels more like there's this energy or force that's trying to sing, trying to like doesn't want to stop singing kind of in my and and so it's just sort of coming out that way,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like you would be compelled to start whistling or humming a tune that's abstract and nothing, maybe parts of one song and parts of another song and you just doing that, but instead internally in my head it's playing different hits and things like that, and I'm just like, okay, let it roll, let it run. I'm not trying to turn it off, but I've just noticed it, like I'll wake up with it and I'll and in the middle of the day I'll realize I got this song going on. And I'm like, what's it's funny. It's funny. And
Well,
that's
that sounds pretty cool. That's cool.
it can be kind of annoying that I'm like, when they're playing the same one, I guess. Or like if I'm like trying to make sense of it, I'm like, because and that's sort of like with the lottery thing. It's like sometimes we don't even know. I mean, if you know where it's coming from, that's different than what I was saying. If you know where it's coming from and can figure out some reasoning behind the thought or the idea, but when it's something you can't even really understand why you're having that particular thought or the idea coming to you or the song in your head, then
Mhm.
it's just sort of like, okay, this is I'll put that in my little bag of gold nuggets for the day and try to remember it, come back to it maybe. But
Mhm.
I mean, meanwhile, you've got lots of things going, you're trying to get things done, and you're
Mhm. Do you ever write those things down in a journal and just in case you forget or maybe you'll forget to go back and look at the journal. So
Oh, I do sometimes. Mostly I just kind of put a pin in it and sometimes things will come true like 2 or 3 months later. So
mhm.
it's usually about the time I forget about it. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, and then it's like, whoa, okay, I remember that now. Watch out for that falling tree or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's kind of it's it's neat. It's nice. And I just try to enjoy the and enjoy it for whatever it's worth. Um, but I don't know why I'm having these. Why for some reason my mind's usually very quiet, very quiet. I don't have negative talk that goes around in my head about myself, or anything else for just randomly or anything like that. I'm usually it's very quiet and I don't usually have a song going on either. That
That's
but
why it's unusual. So you can't help trying to you're asking yourself why. And you're throwing that out into universe like why. Well, and sometimes you
yeah,
can actually ask, I'd like to know the meaning of this song, and maybe you'll get some feedback with that, but or maybe not. um yeah. But yeah, I'd
yeah, yeah.
be interested too if that, all of a sudden I'm getting all these songs in my head, and I'd be perplexed, and that's where you are right now. You're a little perplexed about it, but
Maybe it's a little bit too about like being in alignment, uh, uh frequency wise. Um
oh, okay, because maybe
and
that's where the music's coming from, that frequency. Is that what you mean?
maybe it is a way of dialing in to a harmonic um alignment, and that while I'm actively doing things the way I have been, we've been working pretty hard these last couple days, and physically, mentally, and and maybe that's sort of both a coping mechanism and sort of an alignment type mechanism, kind of
Mm.
keep me through
Mhm.
going through. Yeah.
Ooh, or maybe even a recalibration. Because I know that for
Okay.
me, sometimes in fact, this last week, the same thing happened to me this last week. I had a couple times I'd wake up and certain songs were just going through my head, and they're not even really songs I'm really crazy or fond of. They were just going through, and I like, why? I couldn't really. I'm like you, I really couldn't understand why these one in particular, I don't even remember the song now. Now I played
Right.
it out. I played it out now, I think. But there were like 3 or 4 days where almost every morning I woke up, and then during the course of the day it would pop back in my head, and I could not understand why, and I just kind of shook it off. But now hearing what you were saying and what Jane was saying, I'm wondering if in my own sense I was kind of recalibrating or tuning back in and getting back into maybe my normal frequency or something, and getting myself more adjusted back, because I felt kind of out of sorts a little bit.
Mm.
Okay, yeah.
You didn't.
And but I wasn't like so way out of sort that I was totally uncomfortable like it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it was just, or maybe even a slight trailing effect of that final recalibration. Maybe it just, now that I'm thinking about it and hearing Jason talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, that did happen. I did have that little period where, and it's gone now, but it was odd because it was a song that really, I don't, like I said, I don't remember the song now. But at that time I was like, why am I, you know, what was the significance about it? But yet I guess I must have settled or whatever, because it's gone now. But hearing both of you kind of say that, it kind of like, oh, uh, you know, maybe that was in
Well,
a
maybe.
roundabout way. Maybe that was God's way of helping me resettle myself. Maybe in a roundabout way.
Mhm. Maybe this was an important message that you needed to hear, to see it from that perspective. I oftentimes think that right, that the next thing that my friend says that comes out of her, when we're talking, like, oh, that that really could be an important message from spirit. So, and it could, anything could. I mean, a song, hearing what someone has to say, the next, you know, couple of lines in a book you're reading, that's all coming from spirit, and actually feeding spirit. It's I get myself so twisted in knots when I really think about all of that, is that it all starts with spirit, but spirit is flowing and expressing itself through us. And that just showed to me, when I think about that, it just shows the creativity of spirit, that it wants to know itself so much that it will even create. And I was reading something that the other day that some people would find really shocking, and it said that um, spirit even loves Donald Trump. And I was like, what? And then I had to pause and say, well, spirit created the potential for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is being a catalyst for all of us, so that we can realize who we really are, so that we can raise our awareness and our vibration, so that we can try to bring down that which doesn't serve us anymore. And I have a lot of friends who've been trying to nudge me to get active, politically active, or not even politically, but go out there and sign people up to vote, and that's not a bad thing. Or to do various things. And my thinking, especially at this time in my life, is that I don't have a lot of energy to do a lot of those things, but I have a lot of energy to be able to meditate and pray and visualize. And so I said, I'll do what I can, but I really think this is as beneficial, you know. Who was that? Samantha. Yeah.
Of
And I
course.
I'm in.
Yeah, go on. Go on. Do you think God knows himself very well? No, I think he does. It does. I called it because, of course, it's not male or female.
But finish what I said. I said, I think he
Oh.
knows himself very well in the ways he conveys and speaks to us is to help us know him better and to more fully and to be more in tune and love him and therefore love ourselves. And I
Oh,
think,
yeah, it's all like circles around back, you know?
yeah, but
It's-
I think he knows himself very well because there's so many of us in the universe, I'll put it that way, that, you know,
You don't think spirit is still learning about itself? I think,
Yeah.
and that's okay if that's your opinion.
no, I really do. I really think he knows himself. I think it's because of how we are. I think that we're learning more and more about spirit, God. That's how I look at it. In that sense, and that's how I grow, and that's how I become more interconnected, and more fully in tune, in that sense. Because going back to what you're saying, spirit's always reaching out and trying to connect with us. It's us on the other side that don't always fully connect with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think especially when pulling those, okay, what's Catherine saying? Let me pull that up. God loves everyone. There's not judgment except self-judgment. Yes. Right on, spot on, Catherine. Spot on. But I think, I feel at least that we're being pulled more and more to be contemplative, to try to also bring those energies to help heal the earth, and
The collective.
well, yes, sure, yeah, healing energies for the collective too. So but we're always, because we're in this world of duality, we're always going to have, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, not just the good and the bad, you know, sort of, or the opposites. There's always going to be opposites. It's only when you get out of this dimension, which is, I think that's part of it. We're supposed to move to another dimension. And or I believe that. I don't recall whether you guys believe that we're moving to a higher dimension. Our frequency is raising, our vibration is raising, and we want to continue to do that so that we can foster changes on physical Earth. And
I'll pop out. Oh, maybe when my voice clears. That first, I want to say it's so good to see you back, Jane, and thank you for the compliment.
Oh, you're welcome with the picture.
And,
Yeah, it's a really good picture.
and
Mhm.
that
You're welcome.
I will try my best to not get choked up.
Aww.
The idea that the songs that pop into your head or whatever are very meaningful, and I get so choked up I can't even think straight. Um, it's all about the collective. It's all the fabric that holds us all up and holds us all together, interwoven to form the fabric, and just see, I've lost it again. If somebody wants to.
No, that's good, but just what you said, that,
Yeah.
you know, interwoven into the fabric. Yeah. Oh, and I was just going off on a tangent with, you know,
No, you weren't.
no.
That's the self-talk and the self-judgment, and
No, it's also self-deprecating, you know, just, you know, I didn't know.
well, that's even worse.
No, just being okay with if it didn't ping anybody or land anywhere, you know, just being okay with that. Um, just because I believe that, I didn't get anybody jump in and say that they also believed that we were going to a different dimension, that we're trying to get there. So, and we can all have different ideas about that, you know.
I've heard that a lot from a lot of people that we're going to another dimension, that it will be heaven on earth, and it's
Sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead. What?
I was going to say, for those who are more aware of the more aware of the energies out there, more aware of that there is this we're trying to be more, have more godlike qualities as versus qualities maybe that don't serve us, or we're doing things that don't serve us as a people, wanting to live on a planet that's like heaven on earth. And to me, heaven on earth, I guess, is whatever you visualize it to be. And I visualize it to be a place where everybody has a voice, everybody is equal, everybody is seen, that there's complete transparency. No, you know, nobody gets to have a bigger house or you know, a huge house, or it's just that there's more equity, there's more compassion, and we seem to be moving away from that, at least in this country. And to me, that's not, those aren't godlike qualities, and that I envision something different, and I'm sticking to it. That my vision is that a lot of old ideas and beliefs need to crumble so that the new can rise up and anchor themselves and anchor in love. That which build a society that is harmonious and sees even the least among us as so worthwhile. And I know Kenji knows what I'm talking about. Him being one of the people that feels disenfranchised, overlooked. And in the world I envision, you would be held up on a pedestal and taken care of, and you wouldn't feel those lesser feelings. So anyway.
Well, I don't know about you all. It's the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I know Catherine had to leave to go take care of other things that she's involved in. I'm not sure about Samantha. She usually has to leave at this point in time. But so any last thoughts or ideas on what we read over or went over today? I think we kind of got a little off topic, but that's fine. That's part of how we work and roll. And
I think it was very on topic.
and so from there, any last thoughts before I go ahead and wrap it up?
Nope.
I have one. Of course. I was typing it out. We grow older and develop our understanding, and yet it seems that we are more connected with spirit as we were when we were very young. So it seems that it seems to me that we should though we do value our wisdom of and knowledge that we obtain of being on the planet, it seems to make a lot of sense to be deliberate in making time for our youthful selves, and perhaps like what Dan said, and what was mentioned, what you mentioned, Jane, and the one that being in connection with and with God and spirit is the best way to be doing that, or maybe there's no way else to do it, is to be loving outwardly by loving through yourself as well, and with that childlike whimsicalness. And
Fascination and wonder.
there you go, Lori. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you, and have a great weekend.
Wow. You
I-
too, Jason, as well as everybody else.
I agree with that last thought. I'll throw that out. Also, connecting back to our childlike selves, and I'm going to use whimsy because there's such a whimsy and such a carefree and open and genuine love I think that kids have just in general for life and others and stuff that we tend to forget and lose as we get older because of how the world I don't want to use the term I'm thinking, but how the world builds upon us. I'll use it that way. And how we let it change ourselves and change our thoughts and change our perspective. So I think you're right, Jason. I think we need to get back to that very childlike aspects and connection. And I think that will help us open our connection better with God and the universe and spirit. So that's my last thought. So with that, for the Saturday Morning Mastermind, you can join us every Saturday most Saturday mornings. You can find us on our Facebook page at Mindset Mastery Collective, and also on our website, mindsetmasterycollective.com, or YouTube, same thing. If you want to be on the panel and join us, you can get a hold of one of us or join us through the Zoom. We would love to have you here, but that's it for this week's Saturday Morning Mastermind, and see you all next week. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Love to all.
Bye-bye.